Management consulting at One Extraordinary Life is quite unique. We help organizations improve their likelihood of realizing positive outcomes. We help organizations become flourishing, thriving, abundant, resilient organizations. We help them set them apart from their competitors. How do we do this? Typically, organizations focus on areas that need improvement. They focus on unprofitability, ineffectiveness, and the like. What we do is we say, okay, fine, focus on those things, but in addition to that, what if you also focused on what's going right with you? What are your strengths that you can harness? When you combine the two together, the company is likely to set itself on a different trajectory of growth, a much better one than if it had chosen to just focus on what's wrong. So that's what differentiates us from our competitors and allows us to differentiate the organizations that we're working with from their competitors. So it's a win-win on both fronts. The way we affect change in organizations is we look at the organizations from two vantage points. We look at it from the top down as well as the bottom up. The top down approach allows us to look at the tone at the top in the organization, the culture of the organization, the written and the unwritten rules in the organization. It allows us to gauge what is the formal way of operating in the organization, the policies and procedures, etc., and also the informal ways of operation in an organization. We're looking at these things with a view to understand, does the organization just focus on what's going wrong, or does it also focus on what's going right? And we want to use both of those things. We don't want to stop the organization focusing on what's wrong, but we definitely want to nurture what's going right. And in my experience, that's the portion where organizations lack the most. They don't know what to look for when they think about what's going right. Most organizations look at their most profitable parts of their business, or the businesses that are running most efficiently. But we're not just talking about efficiency. We're not just talking about effectiveness. We're not just talking about organizations that can cope with change. We're not even talking about organizations and their profitability. We're taking that a step further. Because organizations can become efficient, effective, coping, profitable organizations by just focusing on deficits. When you focus on the positives, on the good things, on the strengths of an organization, you harness this hidden potential in an organization. And that's what we're looking for. When you harness that hidden potential, it moves from profitability to a generous, thriving, and abundant organization. It moves from an efficient organization to an extraordinary one. It moves from becoming an effective organization to an excellent one. It moves from becoming a coping organization to a resilient one. And those are the types of results that we want organizations to achieve. And we can do that by tapping into the science of positive organizational scholarship. And so that's our approach, looking at the organization from the top down. We also look at the organization from the bottom up by focusing on the individual employee. How can the employee thrive in this environment? How can the employee increase his or her engagement with the work that they're doing? How can the individual employee be more fulfilled with the work that he or she does? And then, once we start focusing on the individual, something magical happens. We start creating a community of these individuals. Obviously, the community already exists, but they develop a common language and a common vocabulary to relate to. And so, gradually, the organization starts realizing the collective advantage of positive organizational scholarship within the employee population. And that's how the organization starts growing and reaping the benefits from the bottom up. So our approach involves both looking at it from the top down as well as the bottom up, and using the tools made available to us through the science and discipline of positive organizational scholarship. And that's how we consult with organizations.